Welcome to Lessons in Leadership. Steve Adubato, my colleague Mary Gamba. In real time, Mary, we'll just set up this Vanessa Broadhurst from Johnson & Johnson interview in a second. You and Elvin, our director, were just goofing around, and you said when Elvin leaves, you're going to leave. Why is that relevant to tenacity and grit for a leader? Even when your best people threaten to leave, you have to have confidence in yourself that no matter what, because I see it with sports teams. Oh my God, they lost the greatest. So no, you got to hang in there. You got to next man up, next woman up, next person up, right, Mary?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's what we call humor in the television business. It was a joke.
Humor
It was
in
being,
quotes.
oh, those air quotes. I'm afraid to do the air quotes because I'm afraid that the Zoom is going to start doing some balloons or something like that while we are recording. But that was just a joke, Steve. I am never leaving. I am here until the day I die.
No, you said you would give fair warning.
I will definitely give fair warning unless I get hit by a train, God forbid.
No, don't even go there. Don't go there. Hey, Mary, set this up. Vanessa Broadhurst, Executive Vice President, Global Corporate Affairs, Johnson & Johnson. What was the biggest theme that you took from that interview?
Absolutely. She talked about the importance of being a lifelong learner in her own journey and in other professionals' journeys. And she also really talked and dug deep into the importance of having mentors in your life. You need to, first of all, have a mentor when you're up and coming. And then once you have arrived, I would put that in air quotes, but once you are a leader, it's important that you coach and mentor those around you because you constantly need to be building up the next generation of leaders. So those were the two greatest takeaways for me.
The other thing we talked about was this concept of health equity and what it really means, and Johnson & Johnson's commitment to health equity and reducing the massive gap in terms of the health situation for those of means and those simply because of their zip code or the color of their skin isn't what it should be. There's an issue of health equity, and it's very real. We talked to Vanessa Broadhurst from Johnson & Johnson. It's a compelling conversation. Check it out. We now welcome Vanessa Broadhurst, Executive Vice President, Global Corporate Affairs at Johnson & Johnson. Vanessa, great to have you with us.
Glad to be here with you today, Steve.
Describe your role at J&J.
So I lead corporate affairs at Johnson & Johnson, and I think of my group as having three main buckets. First, we do the corporate branding, so corporate brand equity in Johnson & Johnson. We also have our global philanthropic efforts, including our global health equity presence. And then my team also does our worldwide communications.
And let me also say that Johnson & Johnson is a longtime supporter of public broadcasting and our broadcasting as well at the Caucus Educational Corporation. Vanessa, talk to us about, we have a heavy focus on leadership. You're a leader at a leading corporation. Your leadership journey, I know it's a really broad, big picture question. How would you describe how you got to be in the lofty position you are at J&J?
Well, listen, I think there are a lot of factors that go into anybody's success, but there are a few things that I've tried to keep in mind during my career. First of all, I'm a lifelong learner. And as you can imagine, when I was younger, I thought a lot about my position, my next job, et cetera. But I've really found that my career has been a patchwork quilt. And essentially, there have been a lot of opportunities that I've taken. And sometimes I ask myself when I'm taking on new opportunities, that maybe seem a little bit dynamic, maybe a bit of a stretch. Hey, what's the worst thing that can happen? You can do it. You have to have confidence in yourself and continue to advance. I think the other things that have really helped me outside of my learning journey is I've had great mentors in the space. Everybody needs a kitchen cabinet, and I've had a set of great ones who have been able to advise me along the way.
One of the things that fascinates me about not just your role at Johnson & Johnson, but the overall effort to deal directly with the challenge of health equity. But it's not air quotes, it's real.
Yeah.
Talk about what the challenge is and how you and your colleagues are facing it directly.
Sure. Well, thanks for the question. It's a great one, Steve. Health equity is tremendously important to us at J&J. Should be important to everybody. So the premise is, and really we saw this dramatically play out during the pandemic, is that unfortunately in the United States, there are Black and brown communities that don't achieve the same healthcare outcomes as other communities. A lot of this is multifactorial. It has to do with, where you grew up.
Sure.
Your zip code that you live in is the highest determinant for your healthcare in the United States of America. It's also important abroad. And at J&J, we feel that a rising tide lifts all boats. For all of us to be healthy, we all need access to great healthcare.
So it's so interesting when there's, again, a lot of corporations talk about this, but
yeah,
one of the things I've learned about J&J, and people know it, the philanthropic piece of it is important. The partnering with other folks, as I said, big supporters of public broadcasting, but it's not just public broadcasting. Philanthropy, corporate America and philanthropy, more specifically at your company, describe that mission.
Yeah, maybe I'll take it to the premise at J&J. I think Joaquin probably talked to you about our credo.
Yeah, your CEO. I'm sorry, one second. Check out our website, steveadubato.org. It'll come up right now. Check out that interview with the CEO of Johnson & Johnson. Joaquin was terrific in there. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, fantastic. So our CEO, Joaquin Duato, I know is on your show and probably talked a little bit about our credo, which is our North Star document that leads us at Johnson & Johnson. And essentially, the first paragraph of our credo is about the patients that we serve, as well as the healthcare providers. Second, our employees. Third, the communities in which we live and work. And if we do all that appropriately, we're going to benefit our stockholders. That third paragraph is about our communities in which we live and work. And that has been the principal document at J&J since its inception. Now, importantly, when we think about philanthropy, it's not just philanthropy at Johnson & Johnson. We really believe that we have an obligation to live into and improve our communities. So we do a lot of philanthropic things at J&J. As a matter of fact, we have a very philanthropic workforce that has contributed, close to $23 million in the state of New Jersey, and we match that $29 million into the state of New Jersey as a corporate match. We also have a number of different health equity initiatives. During the pandemic, I think we saw that COVID really illustrated some of the health disparities we have, but also fundamentally how critically we depend on frontline healthcare workers. And J&J has a tremendous commitment to healthcare workers. We have basically supported nurses since our inception.
There's a whole campaign that's been going on that J&J has supported around nursing, the nursing profession, well before COVID.
Well before COVID. But during COVID, we decided to make a commitment of $250 million over 10 years to supporting frontline healthcare workers. As you said, Steve, we've been supporting nurses for decades and decades. Additionally, we have a program we call ORTHE for short, which is our Race to Health Equity. And that is ORTHE, our Race to Health Equity. It's an acronym.
My bad. I apologize.
That's okay. And, essentially, this is our 100, during the pandemic, we made a $100 million initial commitment to our Race to Health Equity, which was a commitment that we were going to do over 5 years. We actually, as of the end of last year, had spent $80 million on this initiative in the US, and it's really to change the course of health equity in the United States. It is supporting and partnering with many, many community-based organizations. At J&J, we know how to develop drugs and medical devices, and we like to have the expertise of the community come through and partner with different not-for-profit organizations to make sure that we are getting that local impact that we know is so desperately needed.
And so beyond the philanthropic piece, the partnering is a big deal. The sharing of resources, the doing things together. A big part of our sister series, Lessons in Leadership, is talking about partnerships and how organizations, private sector, non-for-profits, they're able to do things collectively and together that neither one would ever be able to do alone. Vanessa Broadhurst from J&J, I want to thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. All the best.
Thanks, Steve. Really appreciate your time.
You got it. Stay with us. We'll be right back. This edition of Lessons in Leadership is made possible by the Buccino Leadership Institute at Seton Hall University, Prager Metis, Valley Bank, the International Union of Operating Engineers Local 825, the North Ward Center, the New Jersey Sharing Network, the Helix, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, Fedway Associates Inc., Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, Veolia, Resourcing the World, Choose New Jersey, and Seton Hall University, showing the world what great minds can do since 1856.
This is Mary Gamba. If you want more leadership tips and tools, log on to stand-deliver.com. That's stand-deliver.com.
Promotional support for this edition of Lessons in Leadership with me, Steve Adubato, and my colleague Mary Gamba has been provided by NJ.com, NJBIA and New Jersey Business Magazine, CIANJ and Commerce Magazine, and the Meadowlands Chamber and Meadowlands Media.
Construction companies work at the heart of our communities. So do the operating engineers of Local 825, who build our roads and bridges and ensure the safe transmission of energy that keeps us on the move. Local 825 works with contractors as partners in quality, safety, and training. Our achievements stand as monuments to collaboration that will last for generations. This message has been brought to you by the members of Operating Engineers Local 825. Better building begins here.
Lessons in Leadership would like to thank our newest sponsors who make our programming possible, including the Helix, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, and the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. We're now joined by the Honorable Judge Patricia K. Costello, Managing Member at CSG Law, part of our Leaders in Law series. Judge, great to see you.
Good to see you, Steve.
Do this for us. By way of background, before you came to CSG, your career in the judiciary, describe that.
Oh, I spent almost 26 years in the judiciary. I started in Hudson County, stayed there for 15 years, moved into management and education while I was there. I spent time in about 5 years in criminal and then civil and then family, and then became the assignment judge in Essex County and stayed there almost 11 years and then came to CSG.
You know, you and I had this conversation along with Frank Giantomasi and Jeff Chiesa. Again, check out our website to see previous interviews we did. And we're talking about leadership and management and communication. Before Mary jumps in, you were telling me on a tour of the new law firm, the new location of law firm, which is extraordinary. You were telling me about your teaching, your mentoring of others in the areas of leadership and management. Is it at the university level? Where is that, Judge?
No, it was within the judiciary. I went on the education committee there, and we have seminars for in-house for judges during the year, the biggest one being in November. And I participated in a lot of that, taught there every year, and organized and managed some courses for other people, helped them, taught them. I became a consultant for the National Judicial College, which is one of the two national teaching facilities for judges, the other being the National Center for State Courts. So I became a consultant for the National Center for State Courts, so inaptly named because it's international. And then I also signed on to be a consultant for two international companies teaching judges around the world as well as around the country in troubled places that were having struggles with their judicial systems.
Interesting. Mary and I have had this conversation over the years that that people who are trained in a certain profession, be it medicine, law, finance, whatever it is, natural born leaders versus you have to learn to be a leader. Mary, jump in here, because again, I'm not sure how most people become the leaders they become, but it's a combination of teaching, coaching, natural born, a lot of stuff. Mary,
exactly. And especially Judge Costello, being a woman in leadership, I am fascinated just reading your background and seeing how far you've come. What advice, tips, tools for young women leaders who are starting out, and as Steve said, who may not necessarily see themselves as leaders or may think they need to be invited or, welcome to the table of leadership? What advice do you have for those young women leaders who are up and coming today?
I don't want to violate patents and trademarks, but I would say just do it. I think that sometimes it's overthought. There's too much overthinking that goes on. And I think if you can find a good mentor doesn't have to look exactly like you. Many mentors don't look exactly like you. The best mentors may not look exactly like you. That will encourage you and push you and show you opportunities that you might have overlooked and that you're too hesitant to take, and basically just do it. There's a lot of niche bar groups and judge groups, and I think it's a personal decision whether you join them and they become your mentor system, or you say, I'm going to play with the guys. I'm going to go with the New Jersey State Bar Association or the American Bar Association or whatever your practice specialty leads you to do, as opposed to any of the niche bars where you support them. Whether they're your only source is something I would not recommend for most people.
Judge, let me try this. In fact, I'm going to promote our media partners, NJ Biz. This is the cover of the Leaders in Law edition, actually sponsored by CSG Law. And two of your lawyers are featured in this, Judge. And so here's what I'm curious about. As part of our Leaders in Law initiative, we had this discussion with you and Frank and Jeff up at the firm, talking about developing future leaders. There's a culture at CSG that is not just a coaching culture, but it's a very supportive culture. Describe how that culture was created and has evolved.
Well, we obviously have people that come in at all levels. We have a summer intern group. Hopefully a year later, they'll be our incoming summer associates, but we do get other associates from other sources. And then we get laterals, people that are somewhere higher on the ladder, including people that come in with practices. And there's an orientation and initiation during the interview process, and then during the onboarding process that we hope continues all the time. So we run a series of courses for young lawyers, and any lawyer is welcome to join in. And a lot of senior lawyers have joined in and learned a lot from the courses for the young lawyers. We do things like, what is the business of law? How do you find a mentor? How do you stretch yourself? Are you comfortable stretching yourself? How to get comfortable stretching yourself? Are you in the right practice group? Do you want to split between two practice groups? We have a lot. Things like that. We try and nurture them.
Real quick follow-up before Mary jumps back in. I'm obsessed by the concept, and again, we talked about this offline with your colleagues. I'm obsessed about how challenged certain people are with receiving feedback that is something other than "you're amazing, you're great, that's a great job," which is important. We need to do that at times. Mary and I talk all the time about the challenge of giving hard, difficult to hear, but important feedback. How do you couch it, that feedback that must be given, Judge? You can't guarantee people won't be defensive, but how do you minimize the risk? I'm not saying it's easy.
Yeah, no, it's never easy. That's why they call them difficult conversations,
That's right.
I think that you start with the positive and say, here's the 5 things you're doing right, and here's the 2 places where I think you can improve. And let's talk about it and see, why are you veering that way? It gives an impression to the people that you work for, the people that work for you, so-and-so, and you're not like that. I know you're better than that. So what is it that's causing you to do that little misstep? And let's figure out a way around it, make it easier for all of us. That kind of a tone.
So basically, Mary, what the judge is saying is lawyers, as leaders, have to be part-time psychologists.
Mhm.
That's
Don't we all?
no?
Abnormal psychologist.
Abnormal. Pick it up, Mary.
Sure thing. We also talk a lot about wellness in leadership on Lessons in Leadership. And I'm very curious about how you handle, especially in the legal field, which I could only imagine is super rigorous, super time consuming, long days. How do you create a culture where wellness is supported, where family comes first, if it comes first? How do you instill in the people around you and lead by example to focus on their own wellness? Because that is essential to survival and success.
Well, we definitely are family first here. I will tell you that with no exceptions. We celebrate pregnancies and births and adoptions and fostering, and there's a lot of cake eating that goes on around here on the family occasions. And we have a very generous, I think, family leave policy. Everybody understands there's times in your life when you have to step away and take care of the family. And that is the definition, I think, of family first. We also have actual health initiatives. We have walks in the woods. We have this company that makes amazing healthy juices. We have neck and shoulder massages. We
Well,
have
hold on,
I
Judge, one
need that.
second. Hold on, Judge. I was
Stop right
when I
there.
saw Mary, when I was up at the firm, they are in the woods. It's beautiful up there. Where the heck did the neck and massage thing come in? Because even though we're remote, I'd like to figure out how we pull it off. So when does that happen and how?
It usually happens twice a year. It happens once for all the administrative staff for Administrative Professionals Day, and then it happens for everybody on some other time of the year that works out to be, the most populated day in the office, which is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we run them for 10 or 15 minutes in all the wellness rooms. The massage chair and the masseuse stay there, and people book and go in and get loosened up.
Let me just say this, Mary, on tape day, which is a long day from 9 to a little bit after 5, we record all day. I'm suggesting that we do that on our end.
Put that
For
right in
us
that
and for-
suggestion box, Steve.
Okay. What's the point of being the, never mind. Judge, last question before I let you go.
You both sailed past the healthy juices and went right for the massage. I'm noting
Yeah,
that.
Oh,
no,
yeah, no, I've had
yeah,
those
yeah.
healthy
So,
juices.
yes.
I don't like to drink anything that's green or orange, so.
Mary, what's
Love
wrong
green
with
and orange.
Okay, before I let you go, Judge, I've always heard this term, and I've written in one of my books about, I don't call it temperament, but your demeanor and the way you comport yourself. And there are times when I haven't done it well, many times. Judicial temperament. What the heck is it, and what does it have to do with being a great leader?
It means remaining poker-faced and calm at all times, even if you're not inside. If you have to get off the bench and go kick a garbage can in your office, go do that. Don't show your temper or your frustration or boredom or any other emotion on the bench. And what it means, I think, in leadership is don't raise your voice ever unless you intend to raise your voice to make a point. Just stay calm, focused, solid message. Be honest. People can rely on what you say and understand that you're telling them the truth, whether it's pleasant or not.
Mary, do you hear that? This is intended for you.
I was going to say, I think I froze on that one. I was trying to maintain a poker. My poker face was just.
Judge, what you just did, the whole team was sitting there going like this. Judge Costello has it right.
Yeah.
And they're not talking about Mary. That was about me. Judge, I cannot thank you enough to you and Frank and Jeff. And by the way, I always have to give him a shout out. My longtime best friend, Nick Greco, just joined the firm.
Oh, I love him.
Judge, there was no reason to even bring him up. It's just that he wanted me to.
Right outside. No, just kidding.
No, he'll come on another segment. This is part of the Leaders in Law series. We're doing a cooperation with our friends at NJ Biz. To you and the firm up at CSG, we wish you all the best. Thank you, Judge Costello.
Thank you for having me. Thanks, Mary. Nice meeting you.
You got it. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
This is Mary Gamba. If you want more leadership tips and tools, log on to stand-deliver.com. That's stand-deliver.com.
Promotional support for this edition of Lessons in Leadership with me, Steve Adubato, and my colleague, Mary Gamba, has been provided by NJ.com, NJBIA and New Jersey Business Magazine, CIANJ and Commerce Magazine, and the Meadowlands Chamber and Meadowlands Media. Lessons in Leadership would like to thank our newest sponsors who make our programming possible, including The Helix, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, and the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. I want to thank the folks at CSG Law and Judge Costello. Mary, part of our Leaders in Law series, we've been doing leadership and communication coaching for law firms for a long time. But I was asking the judge about this, and again, we do it, our leadership and communication coaching with scientists, finance people, people in medicine, people in law, people in the trades, union trades. Do you ever hear people say that, well, becoming a leader is natural if you're really good at medicine, if you're really good at law, if you're really good at finance, that means you're a leader. It means you're an expert. Doesn't make you a leader, does it?
It does not make you a leader. We have seen people who are literally brain surgeons, who are CEOs of major banks, we have seen them struggle with leadership issues. We are all human before we are leaders, and we must constantly learn, evolve, grow, and not be afraid to ask for help and not be afraid to look and read and learn, because the leadership styles also change. We talk about this new generation of younger leaders coming up, what they want, how they want it. Everything is evolving and changing. And if you remain rigid in your leadership style and approach, you're not going to succeed.
Along those lines, stay on that about younger people, the evolving. We talked to Frank and Elvin and also Scarlett behind the camera about this a lot, because we all love sports. You love a sport, hockey. We love a lot of sports. So I'll tell you why I'm bringing this up. So say a great college basketball or football coach, they coach a certain way, they win a national championship, they win more than one national championship. So they're a great coach, great leader. Yeah, let's see. The rules in the NCAA, which regulates college sports, has changed. Name, image, and likeness. You get money now for the player whose image and likeness, you get money. Transfer portal. Oh, you played at University of Kansas 1 year? Yeah, going to Alabama the next year. Oh, yeah, there's an out-of-court settlement that the NCAA just came to. Millions and millions of dollars to former athletes, current athletes. They're literally going to be paid to play. Translation. The rules have changed. The game has changed. Coaching and leading has changed. I mean, you can't be the same coach even if you won 3 national championships. Go ahead, Mary.
Yep. And I think that's okay. I think that especially with paying these college athletes, these colleges and universities have been making millions, if not billions collectively, over these young athletes. So I think that's great if it's managed correctly, handled correctly, because we are asking these young adults to be adults and play these sports in these larger than life arenas.
But hold on, Mary, I'm not even debating the whether it makes sense or not, because it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
But there are 2 things. One, coaches have to change, because you may not have a player for 4 years. You're not going to have a player for 4 years. We're into developing people, right, Mary?
Yeah.
Who are you going to develop in 1 year?
Yeah, but it happens all the time. I mean, you heard at the beginning of this segment today, Vanessa was talking about, as she was an up-and-coming leader, looking to see what her next career move was going to be. And we see it with the young 20 and 30-somethings. They often move around. You're lucky if you get 2, 3, 4 years. So I do believe that we have been dipping our toe in the water of that, whether you're a college coach or whether you are a leader of a small organization or nonprofit. People leave, so you need to build up the people around you and not let that person leave be the reason that your team cannot succeed.
Last point on this. It isn't only a question of leadership for coaches and people who lead, manage, and help develop talented athletes at the college level, because the rules are changing. How about this? The question of leadership at the National Collegiate Athletic Association, otherwise known as the NCAA, meaning they've made this decision. They've made these decisions. Leadership is also monitoring how this plays out, monitoring the good and the bad and adjusting accordingly, as opposed to, well, it's our decision and we're not changing it. Everything changes. Mary mentioned getting there before. As she often heard me say, I don't think there's any getting there. You just keep evolving. I see that Elvin, who has evolved into writing into the chat, say goodbye, Steve. Goodbye, everyone. Elvin, you got your way. I'm saying goodbye. See you next time. This edition of Lessons in Leadership is made possible by the Buccino Leadership Institute at Seton Hall University, Prager Metis, Valley Bank, the International Union of Operating Engineers Local 825, the North Ward Center, the New Jersey Sharing Network, the Helix, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, Fedway Associates Inc., Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, Veolia, Resourcing the World, Choose New Jersey, and Seton Hall University, showing the world what great minds can do since 1856.
This is Mary Gamba. If you want more leadership tips and tools, log on to stand-deliver.com. That's stand-deliver.com.
Promotional support for this edition of Lessons in Leadership with me, Steve Adubato, and my colleague Mary Gamba has been provided by NJ.com, NJBIA and New Jersey Business Magazine, CIANJ and Commerce Magazine, and the Meadowlands Chamber and Meadowlands Media.